I've always wondered what would happen if you saved every region and tournament within a single 3-day cycle, but doing just all the bosses would be really boring. So to make things more interesting, I thought why not try and finish every single dungeon all within the span of 3 in-game days. But before I begin this torturous challenge, I need to clarify a couple of things. For one, I am not going to be using the inverted Song of Time for this challenge, because if I did, then this would have been really easy and kind of would have been just a pointless video. Which means I'm effectively giving myself just less than an hour to beat this challenge at 54 minutes. 2, I am going to allow myself to access the dungeon items off rip. The challenge is, can you beat every dungeon in 3 days, not can you beat them from scratch in 3 days. 3, no, I am not going to be going out of my way to get any fairies, because that would be retarded and an unnecessary waste of time since they're not even required to beat the dungeons themselves. And 4, the Fierce Deity Mask is allowed, but I'll opt not to use it unless if I'm strained on time. And with that, our 3 days begins now. One song was soaring in Snowhead of Awakening. Later, we officially started the Woodfall Temple with about a half hour off the endgame clock already, even though I literally didn't even do anything. That should give you a good example of how little time this game actually gives you if you're not using the inverted Song of Time. Woodfall is unsurprisingly the simplest dungeon in the game by far, and while it isn't on the Deku Tree levels of simple, it's exponentially more simple than the next 3 are. When you're playing these dungeons, the game automatically gives you the map and the compass, so I don't have to go out of my way to find them again. And using the map, I can easily tell which room has the boss key in, because it's made extremely obvious since it's in its very own secluded room right here. I had no issues finding out where I needed to go, but I did have issues shooting a stupid ass torch in the middle of the room with a fire arrow. Usually you're supposed to line it up with another torch and shoot the arrow through it, but I can easily skip past that since I have fire arrows already. And for some reason hitting the torch directly doesn't count and it won't light on fire. But this works for some reason even though my arrow was miles off from hitting it. After this I went into the room that I spoke about earlier because I still needed the boss key. And inside I found this frog dude that for whatever reason is apparently stronger than light arrows. One boss key later and I made my way over to the room that houses the boss door. After which I fell into the water even though I'm holding down on the joystick. Like, I can't even stop myself in midair. I can't stop bro, this is so fucking stupid. This is really gonna piss me off too, especially when I get to Snowhead. This is gonna be terrible. If you can't tell by the proper widescreen D-pad controls in 60 frames, I'm not playing this on original hardware or even an official version for that matter. I'm using the fan-made PC port. And with that said, even though I think the PC port overall is great, it's actually really good, it has one issue. Even though the PC port of Ocarina of Time, which is made by the same team of people, allows you to do this, for some reason in this PC port, you can't stop yourself in midair. At least not in my experience, you can't. Meaning if I jump, then I'm forced to fully commit to it and move forward no matter where I am or where I jump from. This isn't much of a problem now, but it will be very, very important later. But back to the dungeon. If you climb to the top of here, you can hook onto these torches across the room, and from there you can obviously enter the boss room. Now for the boss itself. I gotta be honest, I've never really known the proper way to beat this boss. I think you're supposed to use Deku Link or something, but I've always just aimlessly ran at it with my sword and, did a couple backflips and side flips and he just went down. And I don't know what blessing came across me on this random Wednesday morning, but this happened. Bitch ass nigga, what the fuck? Yo, no way he went down that fast. Yo, bro, this fucking Great Fairy Sword is actually OP as shit. I think it's safe to say the Great Fairy Sword really does fucking numbers. I was able to beat Woodfall before the night of the first day even came, so that's, if I'm doing my math correctly, less than 12 hours, surprisingly. So far this shit has been a cakewalk, and at this pace you'd think I'd be able to beat the challenge in maybe just under 3 days. And Snowhead surprisingly went by pretty fast as well. The whole goal of Snowhead is raising the pillars in the middle and making your way all the way up to the top. But before you go up to the top, you have to punch these icy parts of the pillar out the way. And to even raise the pillar, you need to press this button right here. There's another button under this one that will lower the pillars, but in my experience it's kind of useless because if you lower it and then raise it again, the icy parts of the pillar spawn back, so you're going to be forced to punch them off again. To even get into the room where you press the button to raise it, you have to melt the ice in front of the door to get into one of these 2 green rooms. And if I didn't have the fire arrow, I obviously would have had to go out of my way to find it, but since I do, I can skip pretty much half of the dungeon. And once you're in there, you need to light some of these torches on fire, yada yada yada. And to do that, you need to do a whole lot of jumping, something I'm very against doing since I can't control myself in the air. And of course, this had to happen. No! Oh my god, why the fuck do I do this to myself, bro? Oh my god. After that whole dilemma, I raised the pillar and afterwards went into this room with a stone that I needed to climb upwards later in the dungeon. But behind the stone, there's a chest with a key in it. And if I don't have to go out of my way to get the key, then I have no issue getting it out of the chest. And in some dungeons, unlike the first one, I'll actually need a key or 2 before I can progress. After that, I'm presented with this fat ass room with 2 choices. I can either go to the cracked wall on the right, or to the locked door on the left. Now, I know pretty much all these dungeons off the back of my hand besides the final one. The cracked door on the right leads you upstairs, so of course I chose that one. Inside the room upstairs is a locked door, and right besides that locked door is a big ass ball of snow with another key inside of it. So in case I needed another key for whatever reason, I went and picked that one up. Right outside here is the main room with that pillar that I was talking about earlier. Here are one of those icy spots I was talking about before that you have to punch to lower it a little bit. Now from here it might look like I'm fucked because I can't really go anywhere and I don't know where the fuck I'm supposed to go to get upstairs from here. But there is a conveniently placed torch pretty much right across from me here, and that path led me to another path to go up to the next floor, which was very helpful as well. Before I went upstairs, I noticed that I didn't have the boss key, which is pretty much the one and only thing that I actually need when you replay these dungeons. But right outside of the pillar on this floor is a locked room which leads you up to the top floor. From there I can jump down and go through the top floor again, this time through a different route, so I can get the boss key. Which is kind of odd, because in this temple, it's like right outside of the actual boss door, which is an interesting design choice, but whatever. Inside this room is probably the boss that this game reuses the most. It's this skinny little wizard-looking motherfucker that you can take down with arrows, and he wasn't any problem at all. After that, I made my way over to the dungeon boss, whose name is Goat, but spelled with an H for whatever reason. And this is the only boss in the game that actually gives me trouble. Mainly because of the rocks and lasers that he sends at you. So I chose to use the Fierce Deity Mask because I definitely would have wasted a whole lot more time on it than I already did without it. And then this happened. What are you doing? How did he get up and fucking run away from me? I don't know, I thought the Fierce Deity Mask was like the strongest thing Link has ever had access to. And if it can't kill this goat with a few slashes, I don't know what it can kill. By now it's 10 o'clock at night, which you might not know is actually a pretty convenient time for me to get over this dungeon because after this I can go over to the milk bar and get a Chateau Romani because the milk bar only opens at 10 o'clock, so that was very convenient. The Chateau Romani gives you infinite magic, which is very useful because these last 2 dungeons are really magic heavy, specifically the last one. The Great Bay, which is the one I'm about to do, isn't actually that magic heavy, but you still are going to need some of it. By now, it was only the night of the first day, and we had 3 entire days to finish this challenge, so you think I'd be able to get through these last 2 dungeons over with quickly without any stress, and that sadly is not fucking true whatsoever. Great Bay is often looked at as this game's equivalent to the Water Temple, which I think is blatantly disrespectful because one of the 2 is an amazing dungeon with amazing swimming physics and puzzles, and the other 2 is an Ocarina dungeon. Now, I'm not throwing any shade at Ocarina's dungeons because if I'm being honest, I think a majority of those dungeons are better than the ones in Majora's Mask. But the ones in Ocarina, they're just kind of basic compared to the ones in Majora's Mask. Even then, I don't think the original Water Temple is actually bad. The original Water Temple is actually a great temple, and it's probably the 2nd best temple in that game. And if you think it's bad, you probably just fucking suck, if I'm being honest with you. I'm actually going to make an entire video on this later because the whole fact that people talk shit about that temple actually makes me mad. But back to the point. Great Bay is one of those temples that I know like the back of my hand, so I wouldn't really expect myself to have any problems with it. Even then, it took me until 8 o'clock in the morning on the final day to finish this temple. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know the temple like the back of my hand like I thought, but I went into this dungeon with all the confidence in the world, and by the end that shit was shattered entirely. The main room has a few routes connected to a bunch of pipes where you need to activate said pipes within multiple different rooms. One of them I found easily right after entering the room. The room below that one houses a small key along with the boss key. Now, normally you'd have to obviously fight the frog in that room and then get the boss key and go on with the day. But I found out you instead can do this. I don't even know how to explain it. Alright, I'm gonna try this. No fucking way! What? Bro, this game is actually so fucking retarded. What the hell? I definitely did not expect to be able to do that, seeing as he was like literally nowhere close to that ledge. But hey, it saved me a couple minutes, and in this challenge, a couple minutes are very valuable. By now it's the second day, and I'm still feeling pretty confident in myself. I still have an entire 2 days left for these last 2 dungeons, and I finished a bit of this dungeon already. In the bottom room, you have to freeze an octagon to activate the pipe. There was a locked door in that room, but that's the room where you originally get the ice arrows. I know this specifically because I remember leaving the room after getting the ice arrows and not knowing that you had to freeze the octagon, so then I had to make my way all the way back. There was one thing that I skipped over and decided to save for later, that being this room right here. You activate the green pipes by pulling on this, and to be honest, I don't really know what it does. I just felt that it would be more logical for me to get through everything else on the bottom floor before activating the green pipe, because that's what you normally would do if you didn't already have the ice arrows. By now, it was time to flip the water flow, and right here is where all of my problems reside. Remember back in Woodfall when I found out that you can't control yourself in midair? I found out here that after hooking onto a panel, for God knows what reason, Link doesn't fall straight down. He falls forward. So no matter what I do, he just barely misses it. And if he doesn't miss, he hits the side of it and still falls down. And if that wasn't enough, I'm also choking and falling down literally every 2 seconds. So I'm wasting time on top of more time. You think that if I just lined the hook shot up with the very edge of the panel, I'd be able to fall onto the water stream correctly. And you'd be right, but I have to time this, which is the problem. Because timing it seems way harder than it needs to be for whatever reason, and no matter how long I waited or short I waited, he still manages to just barely miss it. So after 12 in-game hours, meaning I wasted half an entire day on this one section alone, I just barely landed. Like, the hook shot takes so long. Oh my god, I did it. No fucking way. This all took me 10 minutes, which doesn't seem like a lot until you realize that a full day in this game without the inverted song of time only amounts to 54 minutes. So I spent around a fifth of my time on this challenge in this very spot right here. From this point on, the dungeon essentially was finished. I got a little lost in the rooms leading up to the boss because I forgot to turn on this green pipe, but by 7 o'clock I was in the boss room ready to beat the dungeon. So I guess it wasn't all bad. This dungeon, in my experience, takes way too long, and I didn't have any time to waste, so I used the Fierce Deity Mask. I'm sorry. I've used it in 2 out of 3 bosses so far, which is kind of whack, truth be told, but like I just said, I had literally no time, so can you really blame me? After this, we finally reached the final dungeon on the list, which was Snowhead Temple. As we all know, to get into Snowhead Temple, you gotta line up these stones and jump across them and make your way into the dungeon like normal. But you don't actually have to do that on your second playthrough, if there is a second playthrough. But as you may also know, you need to flip the Snowhead Temple in order to finish it. Originally, I thought this flip mechanic was going to be an issue because it seemed like I would have to go inside, make some progress within the dungeon, and then go back outside to then flip it afterwards. But after some thinking, I realized how retarded that really is because the dungeon is literally flipped over. So nothing that I would have did before then would have mattered afterwards because it would have been inaccessible anyways. Besides maybe some keys that would have appeared, but you'll find out later I didn't really have any issues with keys. So I flipped the dungeon like normal from the outside, made my way inside, and now it's 9 o'clock in the morning on the final day. Meaning I have almost an entire day to finish just this one dungeon alone, even though I wasted 12 hours in that one section in Great Bay. With this in mind, there wasn't really anything for me to stress about considering I have a pretty good amount of time left. Just to the right of the main room is, of course, another room. This room has a locked door, which is very important for later, and this very suspicious ring of fire near the top. which turns out to not be important at all, just suspicious, because right outside of here there's a button which spawns a chest with a key inside of it. It doesn't spawn the chest inside the ring of fire, so who fucking knows? All I know is the ring of fire is pretty much pointless. Past the next room is a room right here where you need to use this red diamond to flip the room just like you did outside the dungeon. And I think I summed this room up perfectly while playing. This isn't even hard to do, it's just a waste of time. After that, you have to fight the same dude from earlier in Snowhead Temple, so he can spawn a chest which you can hook onto using, well, the hook shot. There's a flight of stairs that lead down a level, which didn't seem like a good thing at all because the boss room is upstairs, so that's where I was trying to go. This is me from the future. The boss key is actually not upstairs, it's literally downstairs. But to the right of the door I used to get into the room leading to the boss key is actually a spot with a button that spawns a chest on the ceiling of the main room. While all this was happening, I was running out of time and I had only 12 hours left. And I wasted an hour of my time killing these dumbass enemies over here because I thought that killing all of them would make this ring of fire around this chest disappear, but it turns out there was just a button that I had to press down and that was about it. I'm glad I got the key inside of that room because I could have easily just skipped past it and made my way over to the boss room, but to even get there you need a key anyways. At 9 o'clock I entered the boss room and by now there wasn't anything to worry about since this challenge is essentially done and there was no way I was going to run out of time while fighting whatever the fuck these are. And even though the bosses, they was definitely kicking my ass, I'm not even gonna lie to you, they was definitely fucking me up. And with that boss complete, the challenge is officially complete. So, can you complete every Majoras Mask dungeon in 3 days? Not from scratch. Yes. Easily 2 if you're not hot ass and have any bit of dungeon knowledge. Even though there was a few hiccups here and there, to be honest, this challenge was not hard and it also didn't really take a long time because you only have around an hour of free time anyways. But there was still one question I wanted to answer, which was actually the reason for me attempting this challenge anyways. Does anything happen after you save every region in the game? In a single cycle? The first region I checked out was Ikana since I was already there, and judging by my reaction, I think you can tell that you don't really get anything for saving this region. Damn, bitch, what the I just saved the whole... Alright, bitch, you know what? Fuck you, alright? After that was Woodfall, then Snowhead, then Great Bay, none of which showed any differences outside of the initial issues they were facing in the first place not being an issue anymore since I killed the boss of every dungeon. I even waited for a time to run out to see if I would get like a secret ending after doing all that, or anything at least, but nah, none at all. While I obviously didn't get anything out of doing this challenge, I had a lot of fun doing it, so at the end of the day I'm taking it as a win. And seeing as you're still here listening to me, I assume you had a lot of fun watching me do this too. Or at least a little bit of fun, or at least enough fun because you're still here watching me. And if you did, consider dropping a like and subscribing please, because as you can tell, my subscriber count is very low. Because I got more videos on the way and I just started this channel, as you can see. If you got any challenge ideas, drop them in the comments because I don't really have any challenge ideas to be honest. They can be for other games as well too, they don't have to be for Zelda, they could be like Mario, Rayman, Sonic, fucking Donkey Kong if you want it to be. It doesn't matter, man. I'll play any game that's a platformer, or like this one at least.